I do also have a new little review up this morning. It's for this. You may have seen the Batman picture that I posted with all the action figures. This was actually kind of interesting. So, when DC Comics, well, when Mattel stopped having the license for DC Comics, I don't know the backstory about why exactly that happened. Two main companies got the license. So McFarlane does the adult action figures. Not that there's anything adult about them. Yeah, Aerodinsk, exactly. So essentially McFarlane is doing the figures that are specifically designed for collectors, mainly 6-inch stuff. Really detailed stuff from the comic books, from different animations, the usual. And then Spin Master, which is a company that's done, they've done a huge number of toys in the past. They do a lot of remote control stuff. They've got the license for Monster Jam, so they do a bunch of like monster truck stuff. Anyway, they got the license to do kid-oriented DC Comics toys. The big part of that is their 4-inch figure line, which are just, they've done a bunch of them. It's actually a pretty cool line. I don't have any, but I've seen them in stores. If you've ever seen the figures, so they're about this big. They come with little accessories. The accessories are behind a little sheet, and there are like a million different ones, so you can mix and match. You know which ones you're gonna get. They have standard versions of every figure, and then there's like a slightly metallic version. So there's a rarity scheme, and then there are chase, which just means like short packed figures. It's pretty cool. The proportions are a little bit kidified, but they're solid figures, and I know a lot of collectors who get them too. Anyway, so a couple weeks ago, we got an email from Spin Master saying, "Hey, so Toy Fair isn't happening again." And we made this promo figure for Toy Fair that we were going to give out. Are you interested in covering it? And I said, sure. So they sent me this thing. Let me reassemble it so I can show you what it does. The Batman's probably going to fall out just because of... So it's a magnetic packaging that holds it together. You open it up. It's got Batman and then a bunch of stuff for him. So it's pretty cool. Figure is good. It's a figure that they've released before, just within Aerodinsk, exactly. So, and just like you were saying, so this is a figure that they've done before. This is just a slightly different color scheme to make this one exclusive with the gold. And then all these little accessories packed in. So it's neat. And it, like I said, it's magnetic, so it locks together. So pretty cool. This box says that this is one of 1,000, not number one of 1,000, but this is a single piece of 1,000. So it's slightly limited. I don't know. I haven't seen any of these pop up on eBay yet, but I'm sure they will. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Rabbit Wombat, I do turn down review samples. I do. Because, again, I typically I only want to bring more stuff into my house that I actually want to own. Also, because I'm doing a review, like I have to open everything, take everything out, move everything. So to sell an action figure after that is pretty much a pain. I got to talk about what I did with it. It's it's automatically used, and oftentimes to get toys and all of those accessories out, like you got to punch holes and cut and all that kind of stuff. It's just it makes it, for me to accept review samples with the idea that I'm then going to sell them, that is not generally a good proposition. Unless it's something really easy, like a statue, right? Where you just open it, you take the thing out, you take a picture, you just put it back in. Statues are much easier to resell if one were to do that. Like I said, I very rarely do that anyway. but yeah, no, I do. Essentially, what'll happen is there's a stable of independent reviewers who write for figures.com, and so we'll all get an email from the editor saying, hey, this company has offered this thing, does anybody want it? Or if he knows that it's something specific for someone, like, he'll email us directly. But just the other day there was an email about some new Ghostbusters toy, and I was like, nope, no interest in that. Somebody else, go ahead and take that. Zardoz, yes. I mean, I can't think of anything right off the bat, but yeah, there's certainly toys that are packaged in annoying, silly ways. There were, I talked about this before, but Hasbro was supposed to eliminate all plastic in their toy packages this year, or last year they were going to start, but they sort of made that announcement, and then I think they were hoping that people would forget that they made that announcement, because I don't think that any progress has been made on that. I mean, of course, then COVID happened, and that disrupted every kind of production all around the world. But yeah, I don't know. The next time we have an opportunity to talk to anybody from Hasbro, I'm gonna ask about that. I had it written down for when we were gonna go. Well, for if Comic-Con was gonna happen. 1 year, I don't know, whatever year it was. Yeah, Zardes, it's an excellent question, and they never actually answered that. I mean, in theory, it would be like this. You would have some sort of cardboard. I mean, basically, it would just be a cardboard box, and then there would be no window. You couldn't see the figure inside. The figure would be tied down with. I mean, we see alternate. So this Batman. The reason why I have to hold it carefully is because this Batman will just fall out. He had plastic bands that were holding him inside that I had to cut, obviously. But we have seen like twist ties to hold figures inside, or like cardboard, basically like twine, essentially. So you can do it. The only thing is. Yeah, exactly. Cardboard shell with lots of box art. Yeah. So you can't see what you're getting inside. And that's especially nerve-wracking for collectors, right? Because collectors want to be able to look at, say you were going into a store. I don't know what that's like anymore, but, if I was going to buy this, I'd be really nervous. Like, oh, what if this one is scuffed and this one actually does have a little bit of a paint scuff dead center on his chest? That's not ideal. If it had a plastic window, I'd be able to compare this one versus the one next to it and say, oh, that one is a little less scuffed, I'm going to get that one. So yeah, in theory, that would take that out. Yeah, I haven't been to a store in more than a year. I haven't been to a Target. I love Target, but I haven't been. Anyway, so that review is up. I just started on another review for something that's not going to be out for months, so there's no rush on that one. No Dark Crystal toys. There have been some Dark Crystal somethings. I don't remember what it was. I do actually have some stuff up on eBay right now, hoping to sell, but not review samples, just things that I've accumulated over the years. Realized that I don't care about opening it. Saw that there's some value out there that other collectors wanted. So, see if anybody wants my stuff. Okay, so that's happening. We'll get to reading in just a minute. What else? What else is happening? I don't know. Yeah, collectors are freaked out about this no plastic thing. Again, if it ever actually happens, who knows? Companies say things and then don't always follow through. That's the thing that happens, or doesn't happen. Patty said, did I ever tell you I saw the opera late? Oh, no. Interesting. Oh, my goodness. 5.5 hour opera. Holy crap. That's crazy. No, I mean, it sounds fascinating, but also interminable. I'd say I'm not a big opera guy, but I've never actually been to an opera. I might like it. I don't know. My wife loves opera. If your professor fell asleep, that's awesome. That's how you know it's good. Zarda says, "Has the wave of new Star Wars toys hit yet?" I'm not current with Star Wars. Once the pandemic was like serious, and toy companies saw that, okay, we're not doing conventions, Comic Con's not happening, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, Hasbro Hasbro is really interesting. Their PR. So Hasbro, remind me where we started, and I'll circle back. I promise. Uh, Hasbro is a gigantic company. Like it is a crazy big company, and because their licenses are so big and so uh, valuable, that company has to go through special steps for things that are way above and beyond what other companies do. So, for instance, when we do go to New York Toy Fair happens in the Javits Center, which is a gigantic, beautiful convention center, and every company has either the tiniest companies have a table, most companies have a booth, bigger companies have multiple booths that make up essentially like a room on the giant exhibit hall floor, sometimes walled off depending on what they have, whatever. A few companies will spend the extra money to have an actual separate room upstairs that you have to go to, which is a huge pain because they don't have enough elevators. Hasbro. And at first, I was like, oh, this is just because you want the attention and you blah, 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 blah. Hasbro does not exhibit in the Javits Center. Hasbro exhibits 3 blocks away in the Times building. They rent out the entire bottom 2 floors. There's a big exhibit space. There are a bunch of extra rooms. There's a little theater, and that's where they do their whole thing separately. Hey, Tanya Chris. And again, at first, when I first started going, I was like, that's silly. They just want to be their own thing and be separate. But it is actually a little bit more to that. And also, whenever you go to a Hasbro event there, you have to have an invitation. You can't just walk in, even if you're press. You have to already have a contact, already have an appointment. You have to sign an NDA. They tell you what you can take pictures of and what you can't. They don't search you, but they have a coat check that's free, and they highly recommend you do that. They have, yes, Patty, yes. In the showroom, they have a security guard in every section. So like or at least one. So in the Star Wars section, where they're showing off new toys that are going to be coming out in the upcoming year, there are always 2 security guards who are watching to make sure that stumbly, goofy nerds like me are not, number 1, stealing anything, number 2, accidentally bumping into something with our backpack while we're taking pictures, the whole works. It's very much a locked down situation. But again, that might seem silly and crazy, but the properties that they're dealing with are Star Wars, Transformers, D&D and Magic the Gathering and all this other stuff. And a lot of times, these properties have a movie that's about to come out. And there might be some some signage or some imagery for the movie, or they're talking about it, or they're having meetings, that are related to all that stuff. So there is sensitive materials at times, and there are big announcements coming out and things like that. So yeah, so there's at least some reason why that could be justified. It's not just to be cool and have their stuff separate. Yeah, Ned Saints fan. Stormtrooper accuracy. I have seen those guards get very upset and yell at people because among us toy journalists, there's some really shitty people. Just gonna be honest. People that I've seen year after year. I know to stay away from them. They're always gonna cause a scene. They're always going to lock on to whoever's doing a presentation and ask a million fucking questions and never shut up. They're going to be pushy when we're all trying to take pictures in a showroom. Yes. So there are those. There are the people, and there are still people to this day, well, as of a year and a half ago, who take pictures with their iPad. I mean, I don't know, what year was it? What year, I can't remember what year we're in versus what year all this stuff started. But, yeah. Anyway, whatever it was, I guess it was 2019. But that wasn't that long ago. But yeah, it's just, and then, yeah. I know, right? They're annoying. And then the people who also, right, the highest quality photos, exactly. And then with, in more recent years, it became, because it used to be pretty decent, right? Most of the toy journalists would have, like a fancy camera, or at least something decent. I still use just a point and click camera. I don't have a SLR or anything, mainly because I don't want to spend the time to learn how to use one of those. But you'd have, people doing that kind of stuff. But now there's so many. Part of the problem is that these conventions, they want a lot of press. So it's relatively easy to get a press pass for conventions. That's kind of like an open secret. If you've got a blog, you can probably get a press pass to almost any convention except maybe Comic-Con. And even then, if you have a blog for a couple of years and you can prove you have some amount of traffic, you can probably get a press pass to Comic-Con. It's not hard. But then you get people, and again, I try to be open-minded. But there are people who show up to these toy events. And again, like, so imagine you're in a showroom, not necessarily a big space, it could be small and crowded. You've got a bunch of shelves that look like these. No glass. Sometimes glass, actually, that's worse. But shelves look like behind me. And you've got 100 toy nerds packed in, all trying to take pictures of the exact same things. Now, what you'd hope, and what most people do, is they form some sort of a moving progression. I'm going to take pictures of this while you're taking pictures of that. Once we're done, we'll patiently stand there, and then we'll switch. We'll all move through. And that usually happens. Most people are pretty good. But then, like I said, then you've got the iPad people who just take up an insane amount of room. You've got the people with their cell phones, and again, like, cell phones have great cameras in them. I'm not saying people are bad for using their cell phones to take pictures. That's fine. But you've got the people who are live streaming, which is you're not usually supposed to do, but it's okay. But you get in the way of everything else that's happening. And even if you're not live streaming, the people who are doing video. And again, if you're doing video, especially on a phone, you have no idea what's going on in your surroundings. Not a clue. And you're bumping into people, you're backing into people, other people, right next door, you might have somebody with like a SLR camera with like a huge freaking lens on it. You're bumping into that guy. It's a mess. I don't like those people. Or actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind those people if they waited till everybody else took their pictures and then they did their video. But when they do that while all of the rest of us are all around trying to get their pictures, I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. Yes. I was going to make one more point about that. But yeah, I have seen, because of all of that commotion, I have seen people accidentally bump into toys or an entire shelf and things fall down, and the security guards, like, they jump in. Like, what are you doing? Stop that. And then, because then also, then the security guard has to get one of the experts to come in and fix everything and put everything back together. So they don't want that to happen, but it does. Right. Okay. So because Hasbro is so big and they have so many properties that are churning out so many toys and licenses and connections with movies and TV shows and cartoons and blah 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 blah. Hasbro typically, at any given time, and it's changed over the years, but they typically have at least 2 different PR companies that work for them. They'll have one PR company to handle Star Wars toys and Marvel toys, another PR company to do Transformers toys and, everything else, whatever the case may be. And that can get really annoying trying to deal with different companies when you have questions or you're trying to get review samples, which everybody's always trying to get review samples from Hasbro and they don't give out very many. Yeah, so that's always fun. And then when you go to have a meeting and they're like, okay, so who are you here to see? You're like, I don't know. I'm just a toy person. I'm with, figures.com. I'm like, okay, are you here for this company? No, you're not on this list. Okay, hold on. Let me bring up the other list. It's like, all right, just make one list with the names on it. And, yeah, so when the quarantine was serious and the writing was on the wall that we're not going to have conventions for a while, somebody at one of the Hasbro PR companies was very smart and instituted. Hasbro does online reveals basically every week and they rotate through. So Transformers, Star Wars, Marvel, and then like other stuff. And they go through and it's all the high quality photographs. It's all the information. Every person who has ever been in a toy journalism capacity gets those emails. We all get the emails. It gets all put up online 2 seconds later. It's great. They've done a really, really good job with that. So again, asking if there are new Star Wars toys, I have no idea because they've previewed a billion things over the last year, and I don't know when they're all coming out. Yes, Stardust. So Hasbro does a lot of work with Disney, but not all of their stuff is Disney. At one point, there were credible rumors that Disney was looking to buy Hasbro to make them an in-house toy company. It didn't happen. It sounds like that's not anywhere near a thing anymore. But Hasbro's a really big company. They're second only to, I believe, at least as of a couple of years ago, Hasbro was second only to Lego in as far as like the biggest toy companies. That may have changed. Yes, Mattel is still a thing, still cranking along. Mattel, not my favorite company when it comes to conventions. Last few years at least. I know, right? Can you imagine if Disney bought Hasbro and then, because again, like Hasbro as a toy company owns so much stuff now. Just as Hasbro owns Power Rangers, Hasbro owns, Transformers top to bottom. Yeah, so if Disney like the levels of what that would mean as far as Disney ownership would be too much. They're already a monopoly, or what's the other one? A monopsony. I always forget what the difference between this. Yeah, right. And Wizards of the Coast, yeah, is owned by Hasbro. Yes. We like lurkers. Lurkers are always welcome here. Does Hasbro have a 100,000 square foot house? I don't know. They might at this point. And Hasbro does actually, well, I don't know how many times they've held it, but Hasbro does have its own convention that they hold in Rhode. So Hasbro is based in Rhode Island, and they have HasCon, the Hasbro convention that they've done, a couple times. I don't know how many times they've done it. I've never been. It's in Rhode Island. None of the exclusives have tempted me enough to to travel cross country to Rhode Island of all places to go to a toy convention. They've had some cool exclusives, but none that have quite tempted me that much. I mean, sure, yeah. Look, if you're already on the East Coast, then it makes sense, but not for me. How did we get on all this cool toy talk? All right, well, awesome. I'm glad you're all volunteering. So the next time there's a HasCon and there's an exclusive I want, you're all going to get it for me. No, it's fine. Cool. All right, let's do some reading. Yes, and I always appreciate people who pick up exclusives for other people, because I try to do that as often as I can. I've done it a lot, especially at San Diego Comic-Con. Although I think those days are over. I don't have ready access to an exhibitor's badge like I used to, which is sad, but we'll all get over it. It's been a while since there was an exclusive at a convention that I felt like I had to get. I can't really remember the last one. There's always some stuff that's like, oh, that's cool, that, you know, if it fits into my schedule, you know, I'll wait in line, I'll go get it. But usually the last, well, again, not counting last year, but the last few years, even at Comic-Con, like all the exclusive hunting I was doing was for other people. Zardoz, I mean, I might go watch the tournament finals. I mean, I'm certainly not going to be in them. Yeah, they announced for Warhammer that they're going to run events will be happening this year. I think some going into next. I don't know the dates, but yeah, they're going to have big championship events here at the local store. Get a press pass, I'm a no guy. Yeah, well, so here's another thing. Press pass at different conventions mean totally different things. And for the most part, not always, but for the most part, a press pass doesn't actually give you any more access than a standard attendee pass at most conventions these days. Typically, you can get a press pass for free. That's the big perk. If you can prove that you're a press member and that you're going to cover the convention in some sort of meaningful way, they'll give you a pass for free, so you can get in there. But usually, especially at the large conventions, press pass doesn't do anything for you. Sometimes it does. Sometimes what will happen is this used to happen at Comic-Con a lot. I don't know if they still do it. It's been forever since I've tried. But if you go to Comic-Con, Hall H is the gigantic football field size hall where they do all the movie stuff, right? I've never been. I have no interest in being in Hall H. Then there are secondary, still huge areas like Ballroom 20. Ballroom 20, the Indigo Ballroom. These are other pretty massive spaces where they'll hold panels for TV shows that are popular, but not, at the level of like movie stuff. And what they used to do is they would have a TV show panel in Ballroom 20. So I'm trying to think of ones that I have been to and done this. Stargate Atlantis. When Stargate Atlantis was going on, they had this panel, and then immediately after the big panel for everybody, they would take the people from the panel, shuffle them out into one of the back corridors, and go to a small room, and then there would be a press panel with the people from the big panel, and theoretically anybody with a press pass, if you knew it was happening, you could go to that. And when you go to one of those, You go in there and there's somebody with a clipboard who looks very official and is essentially taught not to smile at anybody. And they say press. You say yes, and they say, what outfit or outlet are you with? And then they judge you. A lot of judging goes on, and then they'll rank you. You're with IGN. Oh, go to the front of the line, please. You get your own table. We'll bring the actors to you. Oh, you're with figures.com. Get in the corner. So they'll arrange the room according to essentially how many viewers, how many readers you have, and they'll filter the people through. Now, if the right on your outfit, I'll judge you on anything. Oh, and then when you're in a tier that's anything below the top tier, then they'll further judge you based on, do you have a camera crew? No? Okay, then yeah, go squat in the corner. You don't even get that. Yeah, God forbid, like, you're just one person there, like I was, with like a clipboard, or not even clipboard, like a pad to write notes, and then like a camera just to take a couple of shots. Like, yeah, you can look in from outside. That's where you go. But those were always, honestly, all of the ones of those that I did, and I only went to ones where I liked the show, or I liked the actors. Every single one that I went to, those were always pretty fun. The people running it tried to have the people move around enough to at least interact a little bit with each group, and the actors were always really nice at those that I had talked to. So that was good. Eureka was another one that I did. The Eureka people were all really, really nice, really great. So yeah, those were fun. But again, so press passes. That's about the limit of the perks that a press badge will get you at Comic-Con. It used to be, again, in the old days it was different, but now, because of how big the convention is and because how many press badges they release, it used to be that in these big ballroom presentations, Hall H, Ballroom 20, yada yada yada, there were reserved press areas, and there would be like a separate press line, and if you were, if you got there early enough, you had press, you'd get to go and sit in the front and cover the event. It hasn't been like that in a long time. Press, nope, you gotta wait in the Hall H line just like everybody else. Now, again, this is for like most normal people. Obviously, if you're press with, like I said, like IGN or like a AV club or something like that, you're getting in. You don't have to worry about that. But for anybody below that, you're in the line with everybody else. Oh, Colin Ferguson. I brought Chris to one of those panels because it was Eureka. They didn't really, security for the Eureka press thing wasn't huge. And yeah, we talked to Colin for a really long time. He was very nice. David Hewlett also was great. Jewel State was super nice, super fun to talk to. I'm trying to think of all the people that I talked to in those things. I didn't really take a lot of pictures with them. That was never really my thing. But then, of course, I can't remember who I talked to. Yeah. So now, anyone particularly awful? I really haven't had a lot of bad interactions with celebrities at conventions. I know it happens. It for sure happens. I've heard stories from other people. Lots of people have horror stories about William Shatner. I know people with horror stories about Stan Lee. Not so much about Stan Lee himself, but about all of the people who were always around him and organizing his events. which again, like if you know anything about Stan Lee over the last couple decades, like that's a whole story unto itself. The companies that he was working with, and who were handling him at certain times and running all of his stuff. Yeah. So that's like I have a I have a friend who also used to write for Figures.com. This guy, man, you think I'm a hardcore collector? I got nothing on this guy. He has, well, he has had, I don't know what he has now, but he at times he's had multiple storage containers around town to store all of his crap. This guy would go to Comic-Con. He would travel from, he lived in the Midwest somewhere. He would fly to Comic-Con with multiple empty, large suitcases, knowing that he was going to fill all that stuff to send home and still have to ship things home. He would have a list. He would print out a list of every Comic-Con exclusive. And it was like a checklist of things he had to buy. I'm not exaggerating. And so, yeah, he, at one point, he spent a large sum of money to go to one of these Stan Lee events. And apparently it was like 45 minutes of hanging out in a waiting area, and then 2 minutes to get your stuff signed, 30 seconds to get a picture, 5 seconds to talk to him, and then they push you out the door. So, oh, Patty, he did not have the money for this. He was constantly having to sell things to keep up with his purchasing, but things that he really wanted, and it was an endless, terrible cycle he was in. It wasn't good. Oh yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, that's a convention I'd love to go to. Yeah, the gaming convention. I know people have been to that and talk about how cool it is. Yo, Tiny Chris, yeah, 100% addiction. Yeah. Oh, Mana Tapping. Yeah, I don't think I've ever encountered her in person. But yeah, I've also heard good stories about her. Yeah. Now there are, at smaller conventions, a press pass can actually sometimes still get you things. Typically, though, like I said, these days at big conventions, a press pass is not going to do much for you, unless you're a good bullshitter. I have been known to try to use the press pass to get into something or to get certain perks, and every so often it does work. So you can try. Nothing wrong with trying. And sometimes it does get you in. One of the latest ones was a couple of years ago at San Diego. There was an off-site purge thing. I don't know if it was for one of the movies or for the TV show that was coming out for the Purge, that series. But they rented out a big storefront in downtown San Diego, and there was this whole thing that you could go in, and it was like a shopping thing. It was kind of hard to figure out exactly what it was unless you were in there. And the lines for this thing were just insane. And they would cap the line and push people away, and it was just all this crazy stuff. So I was with the editor at Figures.com. I was like, you know what? Let's just go over there. Let's go just see what happens. So we went up to the front of the line, where they had capped the line, and there was no line right at the door. There was the line was a little bit down, so you could actually go up and talk to the people. And it especially helps if you can find somebody who is clearly not part of the actual company. So all of these companies who go to Comic-Con and run all of these events, they hire a ton of people to just check people off, or mind the lines. And they're like, these aren't people who work for the movie studio. They don't work for a toy company. They're just people who come in for essentially for a part-time job. So if you can find the right person who is high enough that they have some access, but not high enough that they know better, those are the ones you got to look for. So I spotted one, and I said, "Oh, we're press. We're with so and so, and Figures.com used to be owned by a larger company that had like a name that sounded a little bit fancier, so I could say, "Oh yeah, we're with with that company." And then we're here to cover this with this event. And they're like, you're press, you say? Is that okay, go on in. And then they just let us right in. Meanwhile, there's people standing outside for hours. Yeah, even if you could get in the line, they were there for hours. So that was cool. That was fun. And it was that was actually super cool because you went into this little, it was like a purge, it was like an in-universe purge store, and you got free, like they give you, it was something like 15 purge bucks, and then all the merchandise had different costs, and then you could buy the things in the store with, so basically no matter what, you were leaving there with just a bunch of stuff. You could get a t-shirt and a hat and a sticker, or like there were different ways of using your money, but and then they had actors in there, who were again in universe and talking about purge things. It was really cool. That was one of the little events that I thought was really well done over the last few years. Yeah, press helped there. At times, sometimes you can talk your way into getting into something a little bit early if you're press. Sometimes. You couldn't shoot people. DragonCon. Oh, DragCon. I don't know about that one. There's always drama and it's a mess. There's always drama in these things too. Sorry, I thought you said DragonCon. What did I miss? Oh, Joe Flanagan. Actors, 100%. Actors, famous people, 100% will come to these events drunk, or worse. Yes, that happens. One of the things, so I don't drink, as I think most of you probably know by now, or you've heard on these streams. So at times, when I'm at a convention, people, even if I'm there with a group, like they'll go out drinking, and I'll be like, that's cool. I'm just gonna stay in the hotel room and just do work, because then I can get stuff done. And there was one Comic-Con early on when that happened. They were friends of mine. They went out to a bar, and I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna stay back. Lo and behold, at the bar they went to, it was like the weirdest group of people, but the main people who were there were Paul Rubens was there, so Pee Wee Herman. He was there briefly, but then Thomas Jane was there, and apparently Thomas Jane is another person who at times over the years has shown up to things possibly inebriated, possibly. Apparently that night he was just like plastered, and it was just all over everybody. Hey, like doing the whole thing. They took a bunch of pictures with him. When they showed me the pictures the next day, and they love to remind me of this, but my first comment was, "Oh my god, it looks like he's melting." Like that's how drunk he was. Like his body couldn't retain cohesion. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I missed out on that one. I have seen Thomas Jane at a bunch of conventions because his brother has a comic book company or writes comic books, something like that. So he does show up to a lot of those. Yeah, so Patty, there's nowadays conventions. Well, we'll see once the pandemic is over because everything is up in the air these days. But yeah, was he in character? I don't know where it is. Conventions will pay for certain celebrities and cosplayers to come to the convention. If you hear the noise, it's the gardeners. It should be done soon. And there's always weird stuff about like, okay, who's at this convention to promote something? Who did they pay to be here, or who paid for this person to be here? Because oh, is it the flower wreath? That's cute. Um, yeah, because there's always entities behind celebrities being at conventions. Whether it's the convention itself paying them directly if they don't have something really new to promote, or uh, or like if a movie's gonna come out and a an actor's gonna be there. Typically, it's the studio who's paying the actor to be there, and that can have many different forms. But then, depending on the level of the actor or celebrity, she might want to also sign autographs and make money directly for herself. It all depends. I've heard insane stories about how much some of these people demand to show up at conventions, even if they're not doing any sort of meet and greet with fans or just the bare minimum. William Shatner charges an exorbitant amount of money, and if you want an autograph from him, typically, you can't just get an autograph from William Shatner. You have to pay for like a William Shatner experience, where you, in theory, get like a few minutes with him. But I think like part of that experience is you have to buy whatever he's promoting at the time, or whatever like old merchandise he's trying to offload, and then that's what he'll sign. It's stuff like that. It gets complicated. Arnold Schwarzenegger is one. He does show up at conventions from time to time. Reportedly, he gets at least like 6 digits just for showing up from whatever company's hosting it, or again, whatever company is sending him to be at a convention. So they might. I always wonder if like they're splitting the cost for something like that. But again, like it's all, if you're a draw, if they think having Arnold at a convention will bring in thousands of people, and every one of those people is paying for a ticket, and then spending money, and it's a trickle down kind of thing. Does it work? I don't know. The economics of all this stuff is crazy. Yeah, Patty, that sounds really interesting actually. Yeah, because cosplayers have really upset the traditional landscape of geek conventions, and I'm not saying that in a bad way necessarily, but it was typically like, you'd have the main exhibit hall floor with all of the toys, comic books, art, all that kind of stuff. You'd have your artist alley, so hand drawn, handcrafted stuff. You'd have your uh, your autograph area, which, if the convention is big enough or small enough, will also have like the aisle of shame, where it's, I played background alien number 5 in episode 24 of Star Trek: The Original Series, and they're just like sitting there all day long by themselves, and it's really sad. And you kind of like, you like avert your eyes while you're walking down. There's lots of those, but yeah, cosplayers have really changed the landscape of, where do they fit in, like physically, where do you put cosplayers, especially the ones who might be a little bit more risque, but they're also a draw and people like to go and take pictures, but is that interfering with other people selling stuff? And yeah, it's been really interesting to see that progression, and I don't know exactly where it's going, but we'll see. In theory, I mean, I've heard reports that cosplayers do increase, not necessarily attendance, but like interest and movement in a convention. So, yeah. You know, Eridan's, that's a good question about, do people have to charge a minimum for their sign stuff, their autographs, or their merchandise for then uh, to give a cut back to the company? I'm not sure how that works, and again, it's probably different at different levels and whatever the agreement is for how they come. Because yeah, there's certainly like a lot of low level, let's say, cosplayers who they must just like they just have a booth, and then whatever business they do is just their own. Um, Obviously, depending on exactly what level are, they'll either have to just pay for their booth themselves, or they might get a deal. That's another thing. If you are So when we go to conventions now, we go to conventions as, well, it depends on the convention because they're all different and they all have different rules and they all have different segments. But typically, if we're going to go and sell things at a convention, my wife, for her soap company, is looking for an artist alley booth or a small business booth. Again, different conventions have different levels of things, different tiers. If I'm going to a convention, I'm going to look to see if they have like a small press kind of area. That would be good for me. Things like that. And on those kind of booths, if you were such a person, you can bargain. You can get in touch with them and say, what if I upgraded for that corner spot, but I didn't have quite. What if we made a deal? Sometimes there are deals to be made. Or if you've been going a bunch of years, sometimes you can haggle a little bit sometimes. Obviously, if you are, the larger you are, the more you've been, the more power you have in one of those kind of conversations. Gamescom, there was a cosplay village. Yeah, and again, that's that thing. Like, conventions, sometimes they want to separate the cosplayers out because, well, for a number of reasons. Number one, you're going to have a lot of people who are just standing there staring at somebody. So they're not moving, they're not buying, they're getting in the way of other things. That's not necessarily ideal. Again, there's the somewhat risque factor, which is not always there. And again, depending on the convention, if the convention is more mature oriented, then that's not necessarily a concern. But it is a concern sometimes. Patty, I remember at the Walking Dead convention, there were two random strangers cosplaying as Carol and Tyrese. Yeah. No. Yeah, that's the best when cosplayers who they're totally separate somehow end up getting pushed together so that people can take pictures of them together, or like, pretend like you're fighting random Superman and random Batman guy, and they're like, all right, cool. Zardoz, I definitely have thought about exhibiting at Gen Con. I definitely won't be doing it this year, but maybe next year. I would love to do it. Like I said, had thought about it. Had a lot of thoughts about it for last year, and then everything got blown up. And in some conventions, cosplayers just basically like take over the whole thing, and then the convention itself just has to let it go and figure itself out. A good example of that is Anime Expo. I'm not a huge anime fan. I used to be more. Now I watch anime very sporadically. Obviously, I like things that are anime related, but Anime Expo, which happens here in Southern California, is a awesome convention. Currently, we've been going, my wife and I, we've been going to Anime Expo for a very long time. We have pictures of us at Anime Expo. Do I have any of those pictures handy? Because they are wild, wild pictures of how young we were. I'll find those another time. But Anime Expo, first of all, it used to bounce around Southern California, so every year you didn't know where it was going to be. Is it going to be, in Long Beach? Is it going to be in Pasadena? Is it going to be in downtown LA? And lately, it's been in at the Los Angeles Convention Center. As you can imagine, over the years, cosplay has become bigger and bigger and bigger, although that's always been a major component. At any anime convention, you're going to find a lot of cosplayers, even before cosplaying became such a universal, ubiquitous thing. But as I tell people, I've been going to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, essentially the biggest convention arguably in the world for this kind of stuff, for many, many years. Better, cooler, more interesting cosplay at Anime Expo, hands down. So yeah, we'll see you next time, you coach. The cosplaying that goes on at Anime Expo is just unbelievable. It's amazing, amazing stuff. And what happens there is, depending on the convention center. So at the Los Angeles Convention Center, I assume most of you have never been there, but you've probably seen it on TV because they film a lot of stuff there. It's a great stand-in for airports. So you'll see that in a lot of especially in commercials. If there's a commercial that takes place in an airport and like you can't actually see an airplane, or you can't see a conveyor belt kind of thing, like, then it's probably filmed there. Hey Darrow, welcome. Yes, Aridance. Yeah, Emma has done a lot of stuff at Anime Expo. But essentially, when you walk into the main entranceway, it's just this huge lobby space. And I mean, a lot of conventions could fit into the lobby space where you first walk in. Oh yeah, see, yeah, it's massive. And then beyond that, you actually go into the actual exhibit hall. And then, okay, so that's the main entrance. And then there's a corridor that goes off essentially to connect to a second building that's just down the way. I love lurkers. Lurkers are always welcome. Everybody say hi to CPAT Ran. So anyway, so what happened, and this just naturally happened, nobody set out for this, but as the day goes on at Anime Expo, all of the best, most interesting cosplayers will just stand somewhere in that gigantic open front area. This essentially, it's a huge lobby, and then crowds will grow and grow and grow and grow, and by the end of the day, that lobby space that you can look out on from the balcony where the exhibit hall is, it's wall-to-wall people, and then there are little pockets that you can see, and in each pocket it's just a space that's around a cosplayer so everybody can take pictures. And then the same thing happens. Could you fit the one in the lobby? I don't know. It's a big space. And then the same thing happens on that corridor that goes to the other section. It's just cosplayers will just post up along the way, and then people will just take pictures going through. Yeah, love looking at that. The last time I was at Anime Expo, which would have been, what, 2 years ago? I went by myself with Benjamin, just the two of us, and he was at the perfect age. He wouldn't do this now, but I told him, I was like, buddy, anybody you see in a costume, if you go up and say, hey, can I take a picture with you? They'd be happy to take a picture with you. And again, luckily enough, he was at the exact right age, and I have about 100 pictures of him with cosplayers from that year, and we're talking everything from Goku to ladies who are wearing the amount of clothing that they're wearing could fit in the palm of my hand, and everything in between. It was fantastic. Anybody he wanted, it was like, go ask him if you can take a picture. And typically, and that's also another funny thing, especially at anime expos, you'll see these people in like these just absolutely enormous ornate costumes. They'll be like hideous monsters and stuff. Almost every cosplayer is super nice. They will stop whatever they're doing to take a picture with somebody. It's great. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of like the more scantily clad ladies. They'll attract a certain type of people around them that they have to be a little bit more careful with. But yeah, that's always been really fun. Cosplayers. Gen Con. No, not Gen Con. What's the other one? The other one I was thinking. Gamma. So Gamma is the game something manufacturers Association of America, however that works. Game company. Was Hyper there? Yeah. Yeah, Anime Expo is cool. It's a cool convention. When you go to as many conventions as I have, you get a sense, a feeling of like the overall personality of the crowds at these conventions. And it sounds silly, but it really is different. At San Diego Comic-Con, and it changes, it evolves over the years, but for a long time at San Diego Comic-Con, the crowds there are just the worst. Just the worst. There are too many people at Comic-Con who are there. I gotta push through this crowd to go buy this thing. I gotta get to this thing right now. I gotta find this line. Where's this line? Where's the end of it? Go, go, go. Push through anybody who's in front of me. There's a lot of those people there. Enough that like it affects the whatever, the aura, the metaphysical presence, whatever you want to call it. But again, like at Anime Expo, it's so many. It's a lot of young people, but there are older people there too. But just overall, people are just more positive, just happy to be there, happy to be with other people who like the things that they like. You bump into somebody at Comic-Con. You bump into somebody and you're gonna get a lot of dirty looks. Somebody bumps into you, they're probably not even gonna stop and apologize or say anything. They're just gonna keep pushing through. That happens at Anime Expo. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Did anything fall down? Can I help you? It's just a much nicer, better crowd in general. Okay, so anyway, Gamma. So Gamma is the game, like I said, game manufacturer, whatever. So it's all companies that make card games, board games, role-playing games, miniatures games, dice games, whatever, all those things. So those companies go to Gamma, and Gamma is Toy Fair just for games. So it's a trade show, not a convention, it's not open to the public, is basically what I'm getting at. The only people who can go to Gamma are exhibitors, so companies with games, buyers who are there either from stores or mainly from comic book and game stores, or right, exactly, Aridin, thank you. It's an industry event, exactly. and then press. So I love going to Gamma. It used to be in Las Vegas. It was in Las Vegas for a really long time. The whole family would go. I'd go do my Gamma stuff for a couple of hours. They'd play. Then I'd meet up with them. We'd go hit the town. It's fantastic. Gamma always happens on my birthday weekend in March. Oh, so good. It's like the perfect thing. And then they moved it to freaking Reno, which is just far enough away that it's like a 8-hour drive, right? I have to fly there, and Reno's not nearly as cool as Las Vegas. And anyway, I haven't been since they moved it to Reno. But at Gamma, they have an exhibit hall. You know, all these companies showing off their new and upcoming games and things like that. And the first couple times I went, if you had a press pass, you could go into the exhibit hall a little bit before they opened it up to everybody else. Technically, at Gamma, just like at Toy Fair, you can't buy anything. They're not selling to the public. You're not walking up and buying a game. It's not that kind of thing. If they might be giving things out, there might be freebies. I would always come home with a ton of free crap from Gamma, which is great because most I can just give to my kids. But that was actually a really cool thing for them to do for press, mainly because if I'm press and you this convention has given me a press badge, you want me to cover this thing, and again, particularly me, I'm covering a game convention for a website that's toy related, so I'm giving you eyes that are not necessarily going to be seeing these things anyway, and I'm showing your miniatures to new people. My whole point, my whole purpose is to be here and take pictures of all the cool stuff. If you can let me in a few minutes early to get those pictures before this place is packed with people, it's not like I'm rushing in to try to buy some exclusive. I'm just in there to take pictures and do my job. That's really helpful. That's a smart thing for a convention to do with their press people as a perk. And again, like, I can't take advantage of it other than to do my job. You want me there to take pictures, those pictures to go online to advertise the stuff that's happening here. They stopped doing that, and you better believe every year after they stopped doing it, I would still go up and say, hey, I'm press. Do you think I could get in a few minutes early to take pictures? And it's never worked afterward, but I try. Patty says, Comic-Con seems really intense now since nerd culture has become mainstream. It's... Comic-Con is it's an experience like no other out there. I always tell people, and I've talked about this before on stream, so excuse me if you've heard this before. Barring you having any sort of anxiety around crowds, which is totally understandable. Barring that, I really do recommend, if it's possible, that every geek at least goes to San Diego Comic-Con once. Just to try it. If you're just going to go down for one day, you know, if you're in the LA area, you can take the train there, do Comic-Con, take the train back. You don't have to worry about driving, parking, any of that nonsense. It is an experience like no other. Not everybody loves it. There's a lot that's not great about it, but just to be there with that many people and that amount of things going on, and just the energy and it's crazy. It's a thing. Oh, you didn't go? Coleman, you gotta go. We'll meet up next time. And again, if you live in LA, chances are really good that either you can get a badge through one of the different ways of getting badges, there are several, or you know somebody who has an extra badge, or um, a way to get a badge for a day or something. Chances are very good. Oh, about Dragon Con? Yeah, I've never been to Dragon Con. I would love to go one of these days. I've been to Gen Con a few times. Dragon Con I haven't been to. I've heard nothing but good things about Dragon Con. That it's just a party, nonstop party from beginning to end, and a lot of cool people go to that one. So it's got some. I mean, of course, no convention is perfect, but yeah, I've been trained at San Diego. No crowd intimidates me. I'm very good at getting my way through crowds. So usually politely, but I mean, if you're in a rush, you gotta push through a crowd sometimes. Oh, I see. Oh, overpopulation. Interesting. Yeah, tickets. It's good when they know how many people are going to come and they limit it in some way. The Comic Con feels like that because, again, there's so many people and there's so many things going on, and even because there's so many things going on in different places, you'd think that would make it like, oh, okay, so that alleviates everybody being in this spot, but it just seems like the more things that they add, the more crowded everything gets. Yeah, if you don't like crowds and have anxiety about being in crowds, don't go to San Diego Comic Con. Skip it. Watch the events that you're interested in online. Don't go. Because the crowds are intense. It's a real thing. Doing toy stuff, and I've talked about this before, and I actually have a little video from a couple years ago, but sometimes we get access to other things even on the exhibit hall floor. So some of the companies will have double-decker booths. So at a couple of them, we get to go up on top to have meetings and talk to people, take pictures, do interviews, that kind of garbage. But one of the ones that I really like going to is if you've ever been to Comic-Con, sort of like, it's kind of like right in the middle, a little bit to the right, a little bit toward the back, but the Entertainment Earth booth. They always have a million exclusives they're selling. They do a lot of joint stuff with other companies. It's like it's like wrapped in black, but they've got an upper area, and they take us up there to talk to press. But I always love going there and then just looking down and just taking a video of just the crowd. And again, because usually wherever you look, it's just like you can't see the floor. It's just people all the way across. Which again, depending on how you feel about crowds, either is awesome or terrifying. Which again, I totally get. Yeah, I've never been to TwitchCon. That sounds fun. Yeah, it'll be so interesting to see how conventions work in this COVID world. I'm not going to say post-COVID because it's not like it disappeared. And again, there are now, oh my god, a bunch of conventions scheduled for the end of this year. Soon. Conventions are scheduled to start up in person. We're looking at tentatively exhibiting at a couple of these here in Southern California. So we'll see. Yeah, Gen Con 2023. Gen Con is doing a thing this year. Again, Comic Con is doing this thing Thanksgiving weekend, although there's no information on that yet. Like I said, there's conventions happening here in LA. There's LA Comic Con, which is not related to the real Comic Con. That's happening at the end of the year. Designer Con is happening here. Yeah, there's some other ones. Yeah. Yeah, and as Ms. Priscilla says, there are people who, yeah, who won't be able to go to these things for a while, no matter what. Wait, hold on. I got it. I'm getting a text from Jessica. Yo, Jessica has a joke for everybody. You ready? She says, she just got banned from the local gym. I guess it just didn't work out. Darrow, I always appreciate your dad jokes. They're so good. Well, I guess we didn't do any reading today. It happens. Yeah. This was fun, though, talking about just stuff. Honestly, I'm so tired this morning. I don't know, I don't know how well the reading would have gone anyway. Yeah, no, it was all fun stuff to talk about. Yeah, it's good. It's also going to be interesting when we can finally go to like really do conventions again. Because again, who knows exactly what they're going to look like at the end of this year and even going into next year. But when it's like a real thing again, I think a lot of people are going to be really excited to go to. I think we're going to see some big conventions over the next couple of years. No, Personal Roy, you could have done that. I'm fine with that. But yeah, because there are definitely a lot of geeks who, for them, conventions are their big, their big thing. Their big outlet to be with other people, their creative outlet, whether it's costuming or whatever it is that they're into. Definitely places where they go to buy stuff. At least that's partly what we're hoping when we go to some of these conventions and actually have tables or booths, that people are going to want to spend money again. So let's hope. Darrow, you're getting your first shot on Sunday. That's awesome. Let's get everybody vaccinated. Everybody who can be vaccinated. Let's do it. Yeah, meanwhile, here, oh my god, here in LA, you don't need appointments anymore. You can just walk right up because everybody's just, if you wanted it, you've probably found a way to get it by now. And everybody else, so many people just not doing it. But that's a whole other topic. No, I know. Nightbot loves Jessica. Just constantly throwing that. I don't know what setting I did. Clearly I've left it on there since she was here more than a week ago. That's fine. It's all fine. Okay, let's talk about this week. Oh, and Tiny Chris, it wasn't. It was partly Max not going to sleep forever last night, but then I just stayed up way too late, just trying to get little bits of things done, and I just couldn't sleep. It was a whole thing. Aaronsk, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. No, Arsenal. I think this week is Emma, and then I'm next week. I should check on that because, like I said, I do have I have things planned tentatively, but I need time to figure out exactly how it's going to work. So I don't think it's me just yet. But let's go through the week. All right, folks. If you're a fan of the Warhammers, tonight there's going to be Warhammer on Hyper RPG. So have two tabs open. Check out Janelle or Andy, who's ever on tonight. I don't know which one. Check out Hyper, bounce back and forth, do one or the other. I don't know, whatever you want. But right, pay-per-view in my house. Yeah, that'd be cool. But yes, so Warhammer tonight on Hyper. It's always fun Do it, do it, do it. Tomorrow, no streams. No morning stream. And I got the word, unless things change, which you never know. But no stream tomorrow with Jessica. She is busy. She's on her trip. She's doing cool things. Can't wait to see the results of those. But no stream tomorrow. Wednesday, normal streams. Warhammer in the morning. Myths and Video Games with Pete in the afternoon. Looking forward to it. Normal stream on Friday, and then Saturday, I promise. Hey Pandar, I know we've been chatting forever today. We didn't do any reading today, Pandar. It's like a Jessica stream. It's like she's here with us. Am I going to Italy? Man, I'd love to go to Italy. I promise, for you, for all of you, and for me, because I've missed it a couple of weeks back and forth. Saturday Warhammer War Room stream, we're doing it. I have a guest lined up. We'll see what happens. So I never want to announce the guests too far in advance because people are busy, things pop up, people have to cancel, and that's understandable. But I don't like blame anybody. But I do have a guest that is signed up for this Saturday. Might be somebody you know, might be somebody you want to see, who knows. But a cool person for Saturday, and we'll see. Surprise guest. I do 100%. I have somebody booked for Saturday. Like I said, of course, I can't guarantee it's going to happen, but I have somebody booked, and I'm very excited to talk to this person. I have another somebody booked for next week. Also very excited to talk to that person. So hopefully, those will all work out, and we'll have 2 straight weeks. My goodness, wouldn't that be crazy? 2 weeks in a row of the War Room stream with guests. Shocking. It's like the old days. So there you have it. And yeah, I believe it's Emma this Saturday, and I'm going to be the next Saturday. But who knows? Okay. That's all I have to say today. I got to go take care of the kids. And you know what? I'm probably just going to give them something to do, and then I'm going to take a nap. I'm allowed to do that. All of you, have a great Monday. It's a Monday, but, you know, we're all in this together. I'll post a link to the review of this in case anybody actually wants to read it or look at the pretty pictures. That's mainly what it's all about. And yeah. For those of you who are interested, again, in the Warhammer stream, that'll be tonight on Hyper starting at 6 p.m. I'll be there remotely. Naeem will be there remotely. I think it's Zach versus Malika again, with Lucas helping out, or I guess running the stuff now. I don't know. I can't keep track of everything that's happening over there. It's always a lot. Yeah. Hopefully. Also, hopefully I'll have some stuff to talk about regarding the opening of the Warhammer store here in LA at some point. I don't have anything to say yet, but maybe at some point there will be. Okay. All right. No rating. Just gonna say goodbye. So have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all later. Hi, Uber. Bye, Uber. All right, have a good one. Bye, everybody.